Welcome to Hartford Next Neighborhood Training Institute. It's Our City, episode number 5. This episode features the City of Hartford's Department of Family, Children, and Youth and the Department of Sports and Recreation. I'm Marion Griffin, Board Co-Chair for Hartford Next. We are the coalition of Hartford's neighborhood revitalization zones and the City of Hartford. We are the collective voice of Hartford residents and stakeholders working to strengthen and grow our community. Our purpose is to bring people together, to listen, encourage, negotiate, educate, and lead, and facilitate inclusion and innovation in our communities, and also creating an environment that leads to improvements in Hartford, its diverse neighborhoods. The Neighborhood Training Institute is Hartford Next communication and education programming arm. We do seminars, forums, workshops for formal and informal training of Hartford residents. I'd like to introduce today's host, Hyacinth Yennie, the chair of MARG Maple Avenue Revitalization Group's NRZ. Hyacinth, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Hello, and good morning, everyone. I'm Hyacinth Yennie, and I'm chair of the Maple Avenue Revitalization Group. Thank you and everyone here and those who are watching on YouTube for participation in your involvement in primary goal of this series. I will initially ask our guest number of questions and then begin taking questions from in-person audience. For those watching on YouTube, you can place your question in the YouTube content, and I will include those questions as appropriate in appropriate time. So again, I'm Hyacinth Yennie, and I chair the Maple Avenue NRZ group. Hartford Next is a coalition of 13 neighborhood revitalization zone. It's called the NRZ. And the City of Hartford. It was founded in 1997 as Hartford 2000. And its purpose is to bring diverse NRZ together for common good in the resident of Hartford. MARG is a neighborhood group, and we started as problem solving in 2020. In the early 20s. And we've branched out into what I said, problem solving and NRZ that works on neighborhood issues. And we are surrounded by South End NRZ and South Green and Frog Hollow and Behind the Rocks. So we are just a little piece in the center. But our most focus is to get people involved in our neighborhood. And most are neighborhood homeowners. Okay, so we are very much a neighborhood group that works on issues around what goes on in our neighborhood. We do have lots of social service. We work with our church. We have schools, we have pharmacies, and we have senior centers. And we do have a lot of other stuff in the neighborhood that is very much closely knit to our neighborhood. And so it's really important. We do have a monthly meeting every second Thursday of the month, which is very well attended. And as I said, we usually work on issues and people come back because they get their issue resolved. And that's really important. So if you're really interested in getting out, we meet at St. Augustine Church every second Thursday at 6 p.m. We do not only have meetings, but we also do what we call meet and greets too. You know, we like to have fun while we do things, not just having meetings. So that is really good. NRZs across the state of Connecticut are created through 1995 Act of the Connecticut State Legislature to improve the quality of life of residents. And when I say that, I mean it's to take the power from government and as resident, take on the city to do the right thing. Let's face it, if you sit and wait on government, nothing gets done. So as resident, we have to make sure we take that initiative. Hartford Next serves as a collective voice for Hartford residents and stakeholders, working to strengthen and grow the Hartford community. Yeah, Hartford Next are one of the, and I remember quite well when that was started because we wanted to bring all the NRZ together to talk about issues and how we could put this one umbrella, and so getting, you know, all the NRZ coming together and talking about their issues and getting help through that organization. And it had served very well. The Neighborhood Training Institute provide programs and education, empowered residents of Hartford, with the goal to increase resident involvement in our city. Today's episode, our city will focus on Department of Children and Family and Youth, Department of Sports and Recreation. So, we're gonna be starting with our introduction. So, we do have the Director of Family and Children Recreation. So could you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you so much. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Kristina Baldwin, and I am the director for the City of Hartford's Department of Families, Children, and Youth.
And could you introduce your staff?
Absolutely, or I can turn it over to them to have them introduce themselves. Both of the assistant directors for the department are joined with me today.
Right.
Sure. Hi, folks. Chris Marcelli, Assistant Director for Youth Services.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shailene Lopez. I'm the Assistant Director for the Early Learning Division in the department.
And Brian, the Director of Recreation.
Good morning, everybody. Brian Gallagher, Director of Sports and Recreation for the City of Hartford.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. So we have a series of questions, and I want to, you know, I'm the kind of person, I like to get my questions in, which pretty much. So welcome again. So, Kristina, how long have you been with the department?
Thank you. Yes, good morning. I've been working for the City of Hartford for 10 years, and I have been with the department through its several iterations throughout the duration of that time.
Okay. And Brian?
So I've been in this role since July 1 of this year, so a couple months now. I've been with the city on lots of different roles over the last, since I was 16. Started lifeguarding for the City of Hartford. Previously I was a teacher for the City of Hartford and ran a nonprofit called Active City.
Yeah. No, I remember years ago when we had Public Works in control of recreation and all those kind of good stuff. And I remember we said, oh, they're not working for us because they're not focusing on what we really need them to focus on. So as the year goes by, Family and Children took over and do a lot of stuff. And they were doing very well, and, you know. However, we felt that recreation got lost somewhere. It needed a focus because your department has a lot of stuff going. And what is your main focus for Family and Children?
Yes, so now our main focus is on the young children. So we have a strong focus on our early learning, education, and network, and our focus is on youth services, which is also a very broad scope of services. Our youth services division is actually Hartford's state statute mandated youth service bureau. In addition to that, we also support a wide array of community-based activities in partnership with the Sports and Rec department in our community centers.
Yeah, I was happy when I see those two departments, you know you have to work together because you're all intertwined. But having somebody who can focus and see more impact and whatever. But I want to also ask you about the daycare. Why is it that I noticed 2 of our centers were turned into daycare? And was that necessary to turn 2 of them into daycare, or could we have combined and make it into daycare? And then after you answer that, then I'll have another question about how do people get into the daycare.
Thank you. Well, I'll take the first part of the question, and then I can turn it over to Shailene to talk about how one can enroll into the early learning centers. So the City of Hartford, as you mentioned, operates directly 2 early child care centers. One is at Metzner Community Center, and the other one is at Highland Park Center. So when they were established, we actually had 3 initially when they were established. One was on at the Asylum Hill Church, and now we've condensed that down to 2. We do find at this moment, because those are 2 distinct neighborhoods in the City of Hartford, that those are beneficial to have the 2 separate early child care centers in the city at this time. Of course, you know, we're always working with the rest of our City of Hartford family, human resources, finance, and of course our administration to see how we can operate more effectively or efficiently. But at this time, we do find that the need is there to have both of those centers in those 2 locations. Shailene will probably speak a bit more about it, but I should mention that in addition to those 2 centers that are operated directly by the City of Hartford, our department under Shailene's leadership does provide management and oversight support for 22 early learning centers in the Hartford community that are operated by other community-based organizations. In addition to that, we also provide support for, manage, and oversee an additional approximately 160 in-home child care centers, which are called staff family child care centers, and that number is readily expanding. We actually have the capacity to serve about 400 regionally in-home child care centers. So with that, I'll have Shailene speak.
So before you go to Shailene, so are these in-home daycare center, are they certified? Do they go through the training to do all those kind of childcare?
Yes, they do, and that's part of what Shailene's team works on. So really helping them to get whatever certifications are that they need to help them grow their small businesses. Majority of them are minority women-owned small businesses. So really helping them with the business development plan, helping them to develop the pedagogy for the curriculum for the early learning, and to help get them with any of the certifications that they need to be successful. So Shailene has a team of staff whose sole job it is to work on that with supporting the in-home child care centers.
So Shailene, how do I get my child into the daycare?
You can go on hartfordearlylearning.com. We just hired a service navigator at the city who specifically, her job is to help residents apply for childcare. Post-pandemic, we really wanted to get the voices of the community. So we started the first parent cabinet that was established in 2022 here in Hartford to get feedback from parents in Hartford to see what we're not doing and what we can do better. So based on feedback, the first meeting was, we don't know where these resources are. So we really worked hard on creating an early learning campaign to get the information out to residents, families about what early learning really is in the city. Like Kristina mentioned, we have over 22 early learning centers throughout the City of Hartford, and we have over 160 licensed daycare providers. But we also do regional work. So we have 26 surrounding towns that we're also working with to help them with their licensing. So like Kristina also mentioned, this is also a small business, so it's economic development that we're focused on in Hartford, but also quality of care. So we offer a range of professional development with the providers, business, pedagogy, but also just that one-on-one support. So we're really excited to have our service navigator that just started at the City of Hartford to really help residents with that one-on-one. I'm kind of old school, so just clicking on the website doesn't really help. You really want that one-on-one support. So we hired a bilingual staff whose really job is to go out to the community and really let folks know what we have available.
Did you want to mention the website? Because,
Yep, hartfordearlylearning.com.
Okay, good. So if I want to put my child, my grandchild or whatever in this center, all I have to do is go through that
You can go
website?
through that. Yep, or you can come straight into our office, and we'll have someone dedicated to help you through the process, because it could be a little bit intimidating enrolling your child into an early learning center. So we really want to make sure that we tailor our services and our support.
And these are trained staff that
These are trained, licensed
right.
staff. So our staff licensed daycare providers right now, we just, our staff, Anna completed national accreditation for our providers. So 18 just received, their staff licensed daycare providers received the NAPSI accreditation. That's a national accreditation. And our centers are also part of the NIAG accreditation. And I'm just going to give our department a shout out as well, because we just got recognized as 1 out of 4 in the nation championing early childhood. So Hartford is 1 out of 4. So it's Hartford, Jacksonville, yep, with national leagues of cities. I just got back last night from Tampa from a conference, working with other cities across to see what we can do, where we can improve. So, you know, like I said, we got 1 out of 4. So it's Boston, Jacksonville, and Seattle, Washington, and Hartford. So we're very, very proud of that recognition.
And what age group do you take?
It's a 0 to 5. So post-pandemic, we did a lot of data. We collected tons of data. It's on CT data to figure out, you know, the needs of the providers, the workforce. So we're currently looking to build the capacity of the workforce. So we're hiring for teacher assistants, teachers, and senior teachers, and others, you know, other jobs within our work to really specialize the care post-pandemic.
So, you know, my thing is education, and I always say, you know, I know a few years back, CRT had a lot of issue with their kids. I mean, you can imagine, you know, the government pour a lot of money into CRT, and yet the kids leave the program not knowing their full name or their, you know, stuff like that. So your staff is teaching our kids maybe how to read their colors, the emotional part, the psychological part, so they are getting well-rounded service.
Our base is a play, learn through play. So they focus on learning through play. So with 0 to 5, it's really a support system, not only for the child, but for the families. So our centers really pride themselves on engaging families in the community. But like I said, we have in our ecosystem of our early learning community that's really under construction post-pandemic, we have our parent cabinet, we have our licensed daycare providers, and we have our center base. But we also have friends, families, and neighbors. And that is a new initiative that we have in our department because childcare is specific. We know everyone has a certain need. So what we really are focusing on is giving resources to anyone who wants to take care of a child. Because, you know, after the pandemic, people work different hours. You know, I have a grandson who's 6 years old, and, you know, my mother helps with my grandson, and my son's a single father. So it really takes a village to raise a child, right? Mm-hmm. So looking at that concept and that initiative of raising that child in that village, our approach is just providing resources. So we really pride on offering resources.
How affordable is it?
It's a sliding scale fee, so it's based on your income. But it's very affordable. You know, we just want folks to really apply, not to look at the financial aspect. That one-on-one person would really guide you through the system of, you know, filling out for Care for Kids, filling out the paperwork, going through the physical. So, you know, our staff and our centers really pride themselves on really being a staple in that community.
Great. Mm-hmm. So, Brian, now that you taken over sports and recreation, tell me what is the plan and how we're going to be effective, because again, for years Hartford has lots of programs, but they weren't coordinated, and so there was nobody going to these programs. So tell me, what are you doing to make sure that we have young people attend these programs, and how are you setting it up, and also what are you doing for publicity? Can I get on the website and directly just go and see everything happening, like every other town?
Yes. So a big piece, you know, I grew up in Hartford, grew up playing sports in Hartford, and you know, I really believe, you know, somebody once said Hartford has it. I really believe Hartford has it, just no one knows. And so a big piece of what I'm trying to do with this new department is change that and change accessibility, make it so everybody can kind of figure out what's going on in the city of Hartford, not just what the city's doing and my department is doing, but what other groups are doing in the city of Hartford. For the last 25 years, recreation has been parts of other departments, but it hasn't been a standalone department. And so now it is a standalone department. But for 25 years, other people have stepped up and ran programs in the city of Hartford. And I'm looking to bring everybody together and figure out how we can do it together. You said it takes a village. I 100% agree on all levels, even with our department. And so how we can partner together with other groups and make that happen is what I'm trying to do. In terms of trying to help other people figure out, so we use MyRec currently to register for programs. If you just Google Hartford MyRec, it's hartfordct.myrec.com. I actually have some little flyers for you if you want some. And if you go on that website, we list all of our programs. We're really trying to push that right now, get people on there. It's free. All of our programs are free. We use that to track people coming in and out of the facilities. So everybody who comes into any of the rec centers, they log in through MyRec. They get a scan card, just like if you were going to the gym. So we can see who's coming in and out, and that's also how we register people for programs. And so a big piece right now is pushing those things. Two of the things that just started recently is our street team and our community engagement staff person. So I have two different, like the street team is an idea, came up years ago with the YMCA in Hartford, was to bring the programs to the community. So our street team literally is not bound by a building, it's recreation in the community. So any different community events going on, anything that's going on in the city, we bring recreation to them. We have a van, we partner with other groups in Hartford to bring recreation to them. If that means bringing a basketball hoop to a parking lot where there are kids hanging out and playing basketball, that's what we'll do. Like the idea, we don't have to just be in a building to run recreation. So that's the street team, and then our community engagement was our most recent hire. This person is working with different community groups to promote all programs throughout the city. And for instance, meeting with the Athenaeum recently, they've got tons of programs for kids, and it's free for Hartford. But I live in Hartford. I got 3 kids. I had no idea that existed. And so how can we promote that? How can we get that out? And so I have a person whose sole dedication is to find all these different programs, including the programs that we run, but then help promote that throughout the city.
So now, we have so many schools in Hartford, and for years that, nobody from recreation ever go into the school and say, hey, we have some programs for our kids, or promote things. What's your plan, and do you have enough staff to go to each one of these schools that we have to promote the programs that you have, and making sure that our young people are, not on the street instead of being in a program in a recreation center?
Yeah, so I worked with Hartford Public Schools. I was a teacher for 18 years, and I get it 100%. And we need to connect better with the Board of Ed and try to figure out better ways, not only to promote programs throughout the city and working with them to do that, but also to partner with them and other organizations in Hartford to use those facilities and figure out ways to help that, right? One of the struggles for groups in Hartford to run programs is facilities. There's lots of outdoor space. We have tons of green space in the city of Hartford, but we don't have any indoor space. And so when it comes to wintertime, where do all these programs go? And so what do the kids do during the winter? And so trying to utilize that and partner with this, the city or the Board of Ed to do that. We ran a program with the Board of Ed this summer when I first came on called Night Gym. We partnered with them and Active City. We ran 4 gyms throughout the city from 5 o'clock to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we partnered with Active City to bring in different programs, and it was free to Hartford residents. We had about 1,000 kids registered for that program, and we're doing activities throughout the city all summer long.
Okay, so how does sports and recreation get funding?
And our funding comes through the city budget. We do, work on trying to get some grants. We just received a small grant to do a program called Midnight Basketball. So that started 2 weeks ago. So Friday nights we have midnight basketball at the old Cork Middle building, excuse me, in partnership with the police department and the violence prevention department for the city of Hartford. And so it's from 7:30 to 9:30 is 18 and under. 9:30 to midnight is 19 and up. and it's free. Just come play basketball, stay off the streets. And so we were able to fund that through a grant from Inspire, which is a program based out of West Hartford that partners with other police departments throughout the state to do other programs like this.
So Kristina, how do we, as a city, under the department, measure the health and wellness of all what we're doing here, you know, recreation, whatever the case may be? Because I mean, as I said, I am involved with the South End Wellness Senior Center, and we see the impact, the program that we give to the seniors, how much it affects them in so much positive way. And so I want to know, what do you guys do? How do you measure?
Sure. Thank you. Yes. So data collection and outcome measurements is a high priority in our department. We have invested a lot of time and resources into data collection. Shailene referenced earlier a new data study that we embarked on post-pandemic, specifically for our early learning communities, whereby we assessed the early learning community in Hartford to see exactly what the impacts were as a result of the pandemic, where the children were, how the children's growth and abilities and wellness development had possibly been delayed. It was anecdotally our experience that, you know, there was definitely a delay and impact as a result of the pandemic. We wanted to have the data behind it to back that up. So we did partner with Connecticut Data Collaborative to do so, and they did release, we actually released publicly through a press conference and a presentation their report. So you can also access that through our city website as well, or through Connecticut Data Collaborative's website. In addition to that, on the youth services side, we are actually charged through our state mandate to have a very robust data collection system. So Chris's team oversees, on the youth side, all of the data collection as it pertains to youth. And when we talk about youth in our department, we're talking about young people up to age 25, so anyone under 25. And we actually established on the youth side a Hartford-specific data collaborative that birthed from the Connecticut Data Collaborative. So now we have a Hartford Data Collaborative entity who is charged, and their role with us is ever expanding, but they are charged to gather data and outcomes on the youth community as a whole. So not just the programs that we run in-house, but also for our collective youth-serving providers. And that has already started, but it is actually continuing to grow. So it is our aim to have a youth data backbone in the City of Hartford. And we actually, you know, the whole purpose of having this sort of robust type of data collection system is not just so that we can have the information, but so that we can use it to inform our work, to better tailor our services, and to act as information resources for the providers that are providing the services so they can further tailor theirs. I also do want to mention that through the Early Learning Department, we have, for the first time ever, we are just embarking on moving over our previous data collection system to match that of Power School, which is the data collection system that the Hartford Public Schools use. So it's our goal to be able to track the children after they've left the early learning community into school, so that we can start to see if some of those developmental milestones are met, how well we're doing preschool, and following that along the trajectory for when they enter school to see how successful our early learning centers are.
Right. And then the other question I have while we're in children daycare, how often do you go into these little, you know, daycare at home to assess, to make sure that everything is right, as, you know, because a lot of times people say things it's really not true, but I like truth. So how often do you have people go into these to do an assessment on unannounced in general?
Well, we have a couple of programs where we can go unannounced. One of them is our CACFP program, where we provide a
just explain what that CACFP.
It's a child adult care food program where
Okay.
we reimburse providers for meals. So through that federal program, we're allowed to go visit providers that are enrolled in that program, announced and unannounced. And I will champion everyone in Hartford to really look at their neighbors and really just knock on that door and say, if you can walk in. These early learning centers are amazing. These providers take a lot of pride in their business. It's a family-run business, and they do an excellent job at providing one-on-one support. So, you know, our providers are very, very, you know, they're in their neighborhood. You will never recognize, if they don't have a sign out, who has an early learning child care center in the city. And we're working with Community 311 to get that identified right now. We're on another initiative to start identifying early learning centers through the city. But, you know, they're very compliant. You know, they're licensed, so the state also visits them. Being a licensed daycare, so it's, you know, it's not something that, it's not regulated, I would say.
Oh, good. All right. You know, so, Brian, who are you partnering with your program now that you're in charge of recreation?
Everyone.
Everyone? What are
yeah.
some of the names?
So, so I try to partner with as many people as possible, right? It takes a village, and I think, you know, like I said earlier, as much as we can work together to make this happen, I think it's great. And so, you know, for instance, right now I'm working on a collaboration with Active City, Inspire, which is a funding organization for girls' sports programs and other girls' programs for the state, the YMCA in Hartford, and the city to do girls basketball, right? And so we're trying to piece that all together because we have lots of different things. Right now, Active City partners with lots of different organizations to do sports pieces. And so Active City has a partnership with Hartford Hurricanes to do a girls basketball program. They're, you know, small and they're growing, but they need space. They would like to be able to have a league to play in and stuff like that. That's not AAU, that doesn't cost millions of dollars. That's affordable for kids. And so we're partnering. We took that collaboration and then put them together with Inspire to help fund it. Inspire is also working to put together a citywide league, and then the YMCA has the gym to partner with them as well. And so through that collaboration, everybody has a piece that they provide, and we're able to provide it for the kids for free.
Yeah, you know, you guys talk about everything else, but where does the school fit into this? You know, this is where our children are.
Yep.
Shouldn't maybe Christine and you sitting down with the superintendent and say, hey, why should I use the Y when I have school sitting there? How do we do something like that? Maybe get the mayor a part of it. Just get somebody a part of it that can say, hey, let's be real here. We have all these empty school after hours. Why aren't we utilizing that?
Yeah, so 100%, and trying to figure out a way to do that is definitely key. I think it's something, when I first came on and sat down with the mayor, it's definitely something that's a priority that we want to work on. We've talked about already setting up. We've, you know, part of the, you know, the gym program this summer was kind of an inroads into doing that exactly, to try to set it up with the schools to be able to do that as well.
The other thing I would like to ask to, because, you know, I would usually tell people, go to the city website and you'll find this and that, and they'll go to the city website. Is that city website updated like every other town that you can go and push and get everything you need?
So we're
All
working
the
on
answers or
so that's one of the
questions?
things that's big for us right now, is trying to make that happen, right? So we're hiring staff right now. We have some staff that are doing it currently to try to make sure that happens, right? You know, so our community, my community engagement person that I just hired, like that is her sole job, is to make that happen, right? There's no sense of having data that's not up to date. And so one of the things that we're looking to do is to set up an asset map of all the different programs that are existing in Hartford in the recreation realm, but then have that updated regularly. You know, Active City tried doing that a couple years ago, but didn't have the bandwidth to be able to keep it up. And that's what's hard, right, is that piece of it, because things change daily.
So you have to have somebody in staff that can always
Yeah.
update stuff.
So we just hired somebody. They started last week. That's their sole job, is to not only find those programs, collaborate with those programs, but keep all that stuff up to date.
Well, my other pet piece is, what's the plan to make sure when spring comes or summer comes, our swimming pool are working and back on track?
So yes, 100%. So when I first came on, the pools had already started a renovation, which was, you know, desperately needed. And so I jumped right in and got real involved with the pool piece. I'm a pool person. I grew up lifeguarding for the city. And so that's a big piece of what I want to do and make that happen. So my department worked really close with DPW to stay on top of contractors to get that done. And all the projects just recently got finished. We're ensured that they will work for the spring, and we set up a calendar. In the past, the schools would end, and then they'd start working on the pools. Then the pools would open, and it was tough between the different departments and who's doing what. And then also the pools sit for 10 months. We live in New England, right? And so you have a hard winter, it's hard on those pools, and then to get them up and going. So we've actually just put together a calendar. We're gonna start working in early spring, and we're not gonna wait until June to start getting the pools ready. We're gonna get the pools ready in early spring. We're doing extra lifeguard courses so that we have enough lifeguards to open up all 4 pools this summer. From the day that the kids get out of school, those pools will be open.
Right, because as you know, usually what's happening, our kids will be training, other towns take them because we are the last one to hire them, and that's almost the end of the summer.
Yep.
So we do have to get our act together to start doing the right thing to make sure. And the Goodwin Park, sat there for months.
Yep, green.
And with green water in it. And I'm hoping that it really is fixed and not just, sitting there waiting again for us to put water in and it doesn't work, the pumps doesn't work.
Yeah, so the contractors are on the hook to make sure that it works come spring, and we're gonna test it early on. We'll put water in that pool and make sure that works well before the summer starts, so that it'll be ready to go.
Well, good. If you can do all those things and make it work, I'll be your biggest champion. I mean, I like when things work, I get really frustrated when we sit and things and nothing moves. So I'm going to see if there's anyone in the audience that have any question. Anyone in the audience have any question?
Brian, can you, hi, as a former lifeguard, Stan, do you operate that? No. As a former lifeguard myself, you're a former lifeguard. How are you going about addressing the shortage that we've had?
A big piece of it, one, we needed to make it so that it pays what other places pay, right? And so when I first started lifeguarding for the City of Hartford, a very long time ago, the city paid $10 an hour and everybody else paid $6. So everybody wanted to go work for the city. The city was full of lifeguards. We had tons of them. But over time that we didn't keep up. And so we were behind what other places were paying. So recently, right before the summer started, we upped the salary for the City of Hartford. So first-year lifeguards now make $18 an hour, which is comparable with all the other towns around us. So that was huge. So we did that. A big piece is partnering with the Board of Ed, right? So I became a lifeguard because they showed up at my swim team practice when I was a freshman in high school, and they're like, hey, you want to work during the summer? You can hang out in a bathing suit all day and get paid, and right, it was great. And they did the lifeguard course right there as soon as swim team season ended for all the lifeguards. And we're doing that. We're going to do that this year. We're also going to do an extra course at the end of the fall season, into the winter around Christmas time. We'll do another lifeguard course then, and really push hard to promote it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Gallagher. Long time no see. I'm here as representative of a parkour gym in Manchester. I'm an owner along with these two here. And I'm here to propose an idea or simply ask a question of, I'd like to get involved more with the community. I was born and raised in Hartford, and I'm a big fan of movement, and I think it's very important for the youth to be able to have outlets to use their energy and kind of stay off the streets. And so, with my gym, although it's in Manchester, we also have obstacles in where we can bring things and host events. My question is, for a gym that wants to be more involved in the community, what things can we do on our part to help contribute to this idea of sports and recreation?
Anybody who calls me Mr. Gallagher, you can tell was my student at one point in time. So yeah, we're all about collaborating, and it doesn't just have to be within the city limits and bringing in groups. There's stuff, I would like to have everything that the suburbs have, I'd love to have here, right? And for our kids and for our adults, for everybody in the city. And so we're definitely down to partner and do events, set stuff up. And part of the, the fun stuff about parkour is you can kind of do it anywhere, right? And so you don't need like a set piece or anything, a court or something. So yeah, collaboration is all about just coming together and figure out how we can work together to set that up. And so, our department is definitely down to sit down and try to figure out a way to make that happen.
Thank you.
So,
I-
you have a question?
Yes. Hi, I'm Jack Antonich. I'm co-chair of the program committee for Hartford Next, along with Frank Sentner here. And Kristina, your department handles a broad spectrum of youth from prenatal through, as you mentioned, age 25. Currently, there's a program called the North Hartford Ascend Program, which promotes a cradle to career program, which is kind of like in parallel with what you're doing. So could you just give me an idea about what your level of interaction is with that program?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the question. So our department actually has a great deal of interaction with the North Hartford Ascend pipeline. For the funding that comes to the City of Hartford, that funding comes through my department and we manage it. We manage the programs that are connected to the North Hartford Ascend pipeline that are within the City of Hartford. So we actually, the director for the City of Hartford's North Hartford Ascend pipeline actually resides in my department, like locality. So we work very, very closely in regards to that. There are an array of programs and services that both Chris and Shilene oversee, the programs that reside within the north end of Hartford. All of those programs and outcome measures filter into the data for the Ascend pipeline. And so as far as the City of Hartford goes, we have the management and oversight of those programs, working with the providers of those programs, and working very closely with the North Hartford Ascend pipeline team, both internally and through Connecticut Children's, to make sure that we're meeting those outcome measures that fill into the overall goals of the Ascend pipeline. We also, our staff are also sit as part of the working groups of the North Hartford Ascend pipeline. The staff that's here, our staff member in the audience, Sherelle, right there as well as other members of our team. So we are very closely connected and involved. We have also been very strongly partnering with the North Hartford Ascend pipeline on the career navigation piece, the pilot that was just launched in collaboration with the Ascend pipeline. And again, that's through the work that Chris's division does, as well as the different initiatives on the early learning side that all filter into supporting the Ascend pipeline. And through conversations that Shilene's been working on, the plan is, as this North Hartford Ascend pipeline, we are now in the third year of the Ascend grant. Yes. So what Shilene's looking at is seeing where we are with the North End Ascend pipeline, and seeing how maybe some of those services and programs can be replicated in the future in the South End or in other ends of the city. So really using this as a pilot program to help inform us on how we can replicate that work citywide.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if Chris could talk a little bit about the kinds of programs that are available for older youth, high school and post-high school up to 25.
Sure. So the purpose for which the youth definition goes up that high usually has to do with workforce-related stuff, right? And so we were just talking about Ascend. We were actually just having a conversation recently with Director Jackson about Ascend and about doing more workforce development work together. So stay tuned for some of that. But in terms of ongoing work that's already happening, a big portion of my division's budget every year is actually dedicated to your youth workforce development programming already. The largest aspect of that would be the Summer Youth Employment Program, which is nominally run through Capital Workforce Partners and with a variety of other community partners in and around Hartford who provide work opportunities to youth every summer. I think on average for Hartford, that's around 800 youth per year who get work opportunities in the summer through that program. There's also the Hartford Opportunity Youth Collaborative, same sort of definition. I think that one, the ages is 16 to 24 is the youth definition they use for that. Working with Opportunity Youth, trying to resolve a lot of different issues related to youth who fall into that category. Yes, there's workforce stuff. There's also other things going on there. Other things for older youth, you know, so we do as a division a lot of sort of the youth justice oriented work that being the Youth Service Bureau for Hartford that we are mandated to do by the state. You know, that's less about enrichment programming and more about interventions that need to happen. So we do handle issues related to truancy, you know, and we handle issues related to these youth who get involved with the justice system in one way or another. A large portion of that is diverting them away from the justice system and bringing them other services to get them off of that path. I'm not sure if that fully answers your question.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Brian, I want to ask you a question about, now you're doing recreation. Are you partnering with any businesses? Because sometimes, you know, there's so many businesses out there that you can tap into to sponsor a program or something like that. Are you reaching out to your businesses in the city or wherever to get some help or support?
At the moment, no. You know, one of the things that, you know, we're working on with the city is how to bring in more money and stuff like that into that. And so it's something I'm working on, trying to figure out ways to bring in grants and stuff like that. And with that, also tapping into some of the businesses in the city as well to figure that out. At the moment, no, we're not.
Okay, so challenges. What are some of the challenges you guys are facing? Both, you could, whichever.
I'd probably be speaking for both of us, but
Yeah.
I would say staffing and workforce development is a huge challenge. Much like you had mentioned about the shortage of lifeguards, there's also a severe teacher shortage as well. So we are dealing with that, especially on the early learning side. I would say that that is one of our more significant challenges, right? Especially post-pandemic, the workforce looks a bit different. People have sort of different expectations on how it is that they are going to engage in the workforce. So we've really been working hard and very closely with our dedicated human resources department to come up with some innovative ways to help support the ever-changing workforce. So in addition to that, I would also say that was mentioned earlier would be the marketing and the promotion. We have a ton of great services and resources. We are very much the ones that are dedicated to providing the services to the residents, but I think it's also important for folks to know that we are our residents ourselves. We all live here in the city, not just work in the city. We raise our children, our grandchildren here. This is our home, our community, so we're very dedicated to it. But just making sure that our fellow residents in the broader community is aware of all of the resources and programs and support that we provide.
So do you ever have some strategy around maybe, you know, looking at college kids that may be coming out of college? And another thing, the big incentive is, what is there to make me want to come and work for the city? You know, I know money's everything. And if it's not attractive, they don't want to come. So how do you strategize around something like that to make sure, you know, even our young people in high school at, you know, senior year, how are we trying to attract them to come into our system?
Yes, so we do, you know, especially in our department and in now Brian's department as well, we do have leadership development types of programs. We do open up our doors to interns. Chris had mentioned the Summer Youth Employment Learning Program. We traditionally, not only do we, you know, provide the funding support for that program, but we also act as a host site, a workplace, so that we can have young people come in that are in high school or in college to be exposed to what it's like to work in the municipality. Actually, we have a very recent success story whereby we had an intern that was with the Youth Service Corps program. For those of you that are familiar with the Mayor's Youth Service Corps program that's operated through our piece of the pie, we had a young person that was placed with us for their internship opportunity. And I'm very, very excited and proud to say that this young person now has a permanent full-time sustainable job with us. They are actually the executive assistant for Shilene in our early learning department. And for that young person, that's just a life-changing opportunity. So, you know, not only do we work really hard to support and to provide the programs, but we also really believe in, you know, putting our money where our mouths are and actually being the ones that are available to give young people those direct experiences.
Right. And you talk about at-risk kids. What do we do to help those at-risk kids? You know, are we focusing on them? Do we know where they are?
Sure. So, you know, I mentioned a couple things specifically, but there are actually 6 or 7 different things going on in the division at any given time related to those youth specifically. In terms of doing outreach, if they're simply at risk and there hasn't been any kind of incident yet, that's obviously a little bit more difficult to identify. I know that the school district has their own sense of early warning indicators for, you know, the educational outcomes, and that there's a lot of correlation between those things. But in terms of the work we do in the division with these kids, yes, there's stuff we were talking about of truancy, doing interventions there. There are other things that you can get referred into the Youth Service Bureau for without it, you know, having risen to the level of a crime. There's a whole category for that. There's the truancy, but there's also defiance of school rules. Those are the 2 that would be school-based, where we'd get the referrals from the schools. And then there's also ones that are more community-based or home-based. I always struggle to rattle off the 3 that are in that category. It's runaway status, and indecent or immoral conduct, which is a very broad category that we don't actually see many referrals for, because it's kind of a little bit nebulous. And I am blanking on the other one right now. I said runaway. Oh, beyond control of the parent or guardian, I believe, is the category. So those referrals might come in from families or from anyone else, maybe another community partner who's already worked with the youth in question. We do, of course, do most of our work as a division through those community partners. Very little in a direct service sort of capacity happens directly out of the division's office. We have great partners. You know, we were just talking on the workforce side about the Youth Service Corps. OPP, our piece of the pie, is a great partner on that for youth workforce stuff. Capital Workforce Partners, big partner on workforce issues. For truancy, what? Yes, for youth violence. For the truancy stuff, the Village is a major partner and have been for a long, long time. For youth violence intervention work, there's a whole host of partners. You know, we get informed by the police department every time there is a violent incident with these youth, and coordinate the calls with the police, with the new Office of Violence Prevention. You know, Siobhan Campbell and that office are also becoming a close partner now that that office has been established by the new mayor. With the HVIP specialists from the hospitals, and I always forget what HVIP stands for, but the hospitals in the area have those professionals who are specifically assigned to handling these issues internally. They're on those calls. Other community partners are on those calls, depending on the nature of the incident, depending on the youth in question, what their situation is, and who might be the most appropriate service provider. So those calls are about sort of bringing all those partners together to say, what's the information we have? How do we make sure everyone's working with the same information in trying to serve this youth? And who is the most appropriate to take point on this? So, you know, for instance, I think Roca came up in conversation. If there's an incident regarding a young woman in the city, you know, we're going to have Roca on that call, and they are likely going to wind up taking point, right? But also Compass Youth Collaborative is on all of those calls. They are very closely involved in the violence intervention and prevention work. So that's something that some of my staff spend a good chunk of their time on as well.
Do we have any issue around language barriers?
For the division or for the city
Or
in question?
in general, with programs or?
Yeah, we have fully bilingual staff on as part of our division. I would say a vast majority of our staff family child care network are Spanish speaking, so we definitely have staff that are bilingual. We also invest in translation services, so we have translation services that are present at all of our meetings on the early learning side, and all of our marketing materials and promotional information are also dual language.
Wonderful. Brian, I just have a suggestion that, you perhaps get your staff to get into the schools, individual schools, and start doing a presentation and the programs that you have to offer. And to make sure that, because this is, have an assembly, have the principal do an assembly and to talk about the programs, because that's how it's more effective and you can reach more kids in that period of time than, and I understand that everybody has a telephone now and they can do all these little things in there. But I think it's really important to do that in-person outreach. It is so important, can make a lot of difference.
I agree, yeah, and we're definitely looking to do that. We're going to partner with, we've started working real closely with the athletic director for the Hartford Public Schools, and how we can partner with them and try to make sure we're also, our services are supporting their services. One of the challenges with a lot of our schools in terms of sports in the city of Hartford is the kids don't learn how to play until they get to high school. Then they're playing on a varsity team against another town where the kids have been playing since they were 5, and it's not fun for anybody. And so, we're working closely with them to try to make those things happen and try to develop those programs early. In partnership with them, they've really expanded a lot of their programs in terms of sports. They now have a big middle school league at her public schools, and so to make sure our services are not competing with those services, so when they're doing middle school basketball, we're not going to do middle school basketball. We'll do it in the fall because they're doing it in the winter. We're going to do flag football this spring. They do a flag football program in the spring for middle school kids, so we're going to focus on elementary school kids, right? We're going to try to piece together as much as possible with them so that we're all in line so that kids can learn. Going back to your previous question with the challenges, our challenges are a lot of the same, right? In terms of staffing is a big challenge. We recently just went through and, there were a lot of people that were listed under the department that haven't worked in 10 years. And so we cleaned house with a lot of those lists. We're about to make a big push to hire a lot more staff for the city, and we're gonna, try to figure out how to, find those individuals and working with the schools, working with, different nonprofits, partnering with them. We're working with a couple nonprofits to set up CPR courses and coaching courses and stuff like that. And then, so not only to tap into those resources for our programs, but also their programs so that, they have staff as well and coaches, and trying to work together with them. And budget is a piece of it, and facilities, right? We, right now in the city of Hartford, we have 2 full rec community centers in the city of Hartford that have pools and gyms, stuff like that. And that's great, and we're really working hard to program them right now. But within the next 6 months, we're going to be overflowing at those places. And so, looking to figure out partnering with schools, partnering with other organizations that have facilities is going to be key. And then, budget. Budget is always a piece of it.
Budget is important. So we need to advocate for the budget to make sure we can do the things that we want to do. So another piece I have is the water aerobics. I like to see that happen. And because we have 2 swimming pools in the city, does pretty much almost nothing. How do we make sure that we can get something like that going? And the other thing is, where does our senior fit in your program? Senior doesn't fit in your program, does it? Does senior fit in your program? I'm talking about seniors.
Yeah, so for our programs, definitely seniors fit into our programs. We're working right now to set up our programs for the winter. We'll have all of our winter programs out on MyRec. We'll have flyers out, our brochures out within the next 2 weeks. And our winter programming starts in December. And, in the past, the department has done kind of just drop in, show up, and stuff like that. And so one of the things we're switching to is to still have the drop-in for people who just want to be able to show up and jump in the pool, use the gym, go in the weight room, that kind of stuff. We're also really focusing on programs. And so we're going to have set times for water aerobics for seniors. We're going to have set times for swim lessons, lap swim, or we're going to do a very wide spread of aquatic programming coming in December. We will have swim lessons for parent-child, which starts at 6 months, all the way up through adult swim lessons with set times, set levels, everything starting in December. And we're working on setting all that stuff up right now. We'll have lap swim, water aerobics. We just purchased a whole bunch of aquatic exercise, I want to call them machines, but you know, so you can do ellipticals in the water. There's 2 treadmills that go in the water that we can use, that seniors can come use, and we're gonna have set times earlier in the day for the seniors to be able to come into the pools and use those for our 2 indoor pools. The indoor pools are at Arroyo and Polk Park, and also at Parker.
Wonderful. I love that because I've been talking to our seniors at the Senior Center, South End Wellness Senior Center and 830 Maple Avenue, which we have, you know, people in their 90s, even 100 coming on a daily basis to do their aerobics and, you know, and all the good things that they do.
I mean, swimming is so great for you in terms of that too, because, you know, it's a lot better on the joints.
Yeah.
And especially, so Polk Park, Arroyo, the pool there has a walk-in entrance, and so you can walk right into the pool, so you don't have to like go down a ladder or steps or anything like that as well.
Yeah. And you said something about, and I've noticed that a few years back, we used to have a program in Polk Park that, you know, you have those little 3 to 4 year old come in and they would have programs like either the soccer or something like that. And as you said before, I always go to these basketball games where these suburban kids already got it at that certain point, and our kids don't get it, and they usually come in not knowing even how to shoot a ball or something like that. How do we make sure we have kind of an organized kind of a program that says every Saturday you come here and this is what we do?
So we're doing exactly that. So starting this winter, we'll have the rec department running a basketball program called Saturday Hoopsters. It's a program that I started with Active City many years ago, and so we're going to be in partnership with them. They're going to run their Hoopsters program through their gyms that they use through the Board of Ed. We're going to run it at the rec centers. That's going to be on Saturday mornings, starting for 5-year-olds all the way up through 12-year-olds to learn how to play basketball. Saturdays, we're going to do a soccer program, doing the same thing, teaching the kids how to play soccer at a young age. That's going to be on Sundays in the gym. We're partnering with the other community soccer groups in the City of Hartford to help promote and bring in kids for that and to set up a program. We're doing volleyball 1 night a week. We're adding flag football in the spring. We're going to do a t-ball softball program in the spring. We're working in partnership and collaborating with a couple of different groups for that as well. For that exact reason, right? You know, the big piece of, you know, what I'm trying to do is promote those programs and try to develop those programs. I grew up playing sports in the City of Hartford. It helped me go to college. I thought I was going to be a pro soccer player. I'd like to say it's because I got hurt that I didn't make it that far, but it may be other reasons. But I was able to, you know, pivot and make sports my life. I was a PE teacher for 18 years. You know, I used to joke around all the time that I'm a pro athlete. You know, I don't get paid what LeBron plays, but I still get paid to play sports every day. And so, you know, I'd like to continue doing that with now in this department, and I encourage other people to do the same. You know, I was able to take my passion of sports and continue doing it forever, and get paid to do it. So I think it's a big piece of what we're trying to like promote and do, and doing that through all these sports programs. But it's got to start young. You know, you can't wait until you're 13 years old to learn how to play golf or anything. It's too hard. And then especially to go compete. You know, we have our softball teams in Hartford losing, you know, 15-0 to the suburbs. It's not fun for them. It's not fun for our kids either. And so we got to start young and try to get them involved in these sports programs.
Yeah, the focus has to be on our Hartford kids because,
100%.
you know, it's a hit and miss most of the time for years. And so I like to see the focus on our Hartford kids to make sure they get what they need. Is there anything else that you guys would like to mention before we wrap it up? Anything?
Well, we thank you for the opportunity to be here. We encourage our residents, if they want to learn more about the program, if we can be of support in any way, shape, and form for children and youth in our communities, we are available. You can come up to the office at City Hall. You can visit us on our citywide website. If you're interested in early learning, as Shailene mentioned, hartfordearlylearning.com, or you can call us directly, 860-757-9595 is the phone number for our department. And we're here to work on your behalf, and we're here to support in any way that we can.
And how, as resident, can we, support your department?
I would say reach out to us and let us know possibly what your interest is, if you have any skills or experience that we might be able to incorporate. I will just make a quick plug that we will be very soon releasing our applications for our Hartford Youth Advisory Board. So that is a board of young people that help to advise the mayor and his administration and our department on everything as it relates to young people. So we do encourage young people to submit an application for that when it becomes live, which we are expected to send out by next month. Ages 13 to 17. You can even self-nominate, but you can have a nomination by a teacher, a peer, or another community member. So we encourage you to get involved and come visit us. We're here to work for you. Thank you.
And Brian, any last word? What my encouragement is to you is to make sure we're looking at, maybe doing a survey to the community, especially the South End where, for years we had Metzner Center as a center where kids come and play, do their activities in there. Oh, by the way, I think we would like to start doing some hip hop kind of thing in the Metzner Center. All right, I think that would be a really good thing to attract kids there. So I would encourage you to go out and get, the survey into the neighborhood to find out what are some of the things that the people in that neighborhood would like to see happening in that center.
100%. We'll definitely set that up. It's something we're looking at doing, working with the new community partners and also our new staff that just came on. That's a big piece of that, is trying to figure out the community piece. I will also plug the PRAC, which is our park board for the City of Hartford. They meet on the last Tuesday of every month at City Hall at 6 p.m. Anybody's welcome to come and talk. Myself or one of my representatives from my department is always there for that meeting to talk about, what people would like to see in the parks, in the centers, and for programs. And so it's an opportunity. Also, you can always reach out to myself or the department. All of our stuff is listed on the website, the city's website, with our contact info. Our office is at DBW at 50 Jennings. You can always come visit us there as well to come talk to us about how we can collaborate with other programs and or what programs you'd like to see in the city. So please come check us out. Check out MyRec as well to see the new programs. The winter programs will be up in the next 2 weeks on MyRec, but if you become a member on MyRec, you'll get blasts for all the different information that's going on in the parks and in the centers.
Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll turn it over to Maureen.
Thank you all for joining us today. Special thanks to Hyacinth for hosting today's event. And also thank you to our panelists, Kristina, Christopher, Shailene, and Brian. And do take Brian's request to heart relative to the PRAC, the Commission for Sports and Recreation. And we do need commissioners, so please do join us. So I want to thank everyone who participated both online and in person. This is the last of our series for this fall. We will have 6 to 7 more coming in the spring of 2025 to showcase more departments of the City of Hartford, because the City of Hartford works for us. So we should know and understand what the departments do and also participate. If you'd like more information, those of you who are online, we will be sending out some links to or information on how to contact both Kristina's department and Brian's department. Those of you who are here, we have information that you can pick up to take with you. If you are not a member of your neighborhood revitalization zone, please go to Hartford NEXT website and look up Find Your NRZ. And actually, you can just go and Google Find Your NRZ and it'll pop right up. And look for your neighborhood. Look, there's a map where you can find out where you live, and then you can identify your NRZ. NRZs, this is your opportunity to participate in your neighborhood If we have complaints, you don't like the traffic, you don't like the trash, there are other things that you want, recreation for your youth, more green spaces, that's the place to go to voice your opinion and to also help. So thank you all today for participating. I hope this was helpful for you, and we'll hope you will join us the next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.